Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, Canada just came out with some new travel restrictions and they're being talked about in the UK and in different states in the United States. So it might be coming for everyone, and boy, is it going to hamper travel. That's right, Canada just came up with some travel restrictions, and I think there's a couple things that caused it for us. One is, of course, the numbers are rising for the virus, as we expect, coming up off the holidays. We have a very slow rolling out of the vaccines heading on. In fact, the average person in Canada now is not predicted to be able to start getting the vaccine until like September. Which, almost a year away. So this year is a write-off unless you're, in a senior citizen's home, Inuit up north, or you're working in a hospital or a first responder. So that's part and parcel of this. And another part and parcel of this is that they notice a lot of people going away for the holidays and flying, even though they've been saying, do not travel, it's not recommended to travel, we don't want you to travel, please avoid all unnecessary travel whatsoever, even city to city, driving to another city, do not do it in Canada, don't do it. Then there's a big uproar because we had over 14 MPs, either provincial members of parliament or federal members of parliament. They all traveled. Some of them went to Greece, some of them went to Paris, some of them went to the Caribbean. Yet we were told we couldn't even spend Christmas with our families. You had to have your holidays only with people who actually live in your house. So your daughter who lives like 2 blocks away was not allowed over. And in fact, we had people on New Year's Eve in Quebec. They had 6 people got together to celebrate New Year's. Friends, they've been doing it every year for years. And the police showed up and arrested them because a neighbor called that they were having a get-together of 6 people on New Year's. That's how ridiculous things have gotten now. In the world, it seems that neighbors are ratting out neighbors for having a New Year's Eve and it wasn't 50, it wasn't 100 people, it wasn't a big bash, it was 3 families, 3 couples who live alone got together. Okay, enough about that. The travel restrictions that are coming down now in Canada have just been announced, and they will be implemented before the end of this week. And it is that if you go to another country, you're free to do so still. They haven't made it illegal, but now you have to take a test, and not a quick test. It has to be the regular test at the laboratory before you come back to the country. Not when you arrive, not in the airports but before you leave and get on the plane. Otherwise, you will be turned away at the airport. So now into your vacation plans, if you're going away for a week, you have to schedule somehow in a foreign country where you may not speak the language, a clinic visit to get a test for COVID before you're allowed to fly back into Canada and return home. And if you can't get that test, and it takes you, 12 days to get the results back, you're stuck there for another 12 days at your cost and your dime. And if you happen to go to a country that does not have a clinic that you can get to and get testing, then they will let you fly back only if you can prove you could not get a test. And saying that I had to wait 3 days before I could get a test and my flight would have left, that's not your excuse. They don't care if you have to wait 3 more days to get that test. You get that, wait the 3 days, get the test, wait 3 more days or 4 more days or 5 more days for your result, and then you can fly back. So they will still turn you away at that point. But if there is no clinics where you are, you can fly back. You will get tested when you get to Canada, and you are isolated for 14 days at the airport you arrived in, not the airport of your destination. So if I lived here in Ottawa and I flew in to Toronto, the main city, main hub for Canada, boom, I am now forced to isolate at a hotel or a boarding house or an apartment of their choosing where they have set it up for 14 days, get tested. Even if I test negative, I still have to sit there for 14 days before I'm allowed to go home. And they are looking at doing this in the United States and the UK as well. So just think of all the implications this now has. What happens now if, for instance, you're going to take a cruise out of Canada in Vancouver one way to Alaska? Does that mean you now have to stay there 5 nights, find a clinic when you get there, get tested, stay there 5 nights before you're allowed to fly home back to Vancouver? Because you can't take a 14-day cruise. They've already banned that with the CDC, and Canada's followed right along with that. So you can't do that. You can't book a back-to-back cruise because that makes it longer than 14 days, and you have to get tested before the second cruise before you're allowed to get on. So you'd end up spending 5 or 6 days in Alaska anyway before you could get back on a ship to come back. So many restrictions now, and I honestly think a lot of it is because of the new strain that they found in the UK that they have found here in Canada as well and other countries around. I also think it's because they have completely botched the rollout so far here in Canada. It's coming so slowly. It is like a snail is winning the race right now so far, from what we're seeing in the numbers here in Canada. And then we also have all the politicians that got all over the news for breaking their own recommended guidelines. And the government doesn't want that all over the place when they're trying to tell everyone, stay home, isolate, shutting down businesses, locking people indoors, you're not allowed to visit your own relatives, etc. And then you have politicians flying off to Greece and Paris and the Caribbean. Hey, hope you guys are having a good time at home. Oh my gosh. You know what? I used to think politicians at least were smart. And how they thought this would not come back to bite them in the butt, I have no idea. No idea in the world. And you know what? When they lose their job over it, and by the way, I did that video on our finance minister who got caught going to the Caribbean and trying to hide it on his Facebook post, not like on his social media, saying, hey, look, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm in front of a fireplace and I'm reading a book and stay at home while he's at the Caribbean pretending that he's in Canada with the rest of us. He was forced to resign his post, which, yeah, I'm sorry, he deserved it. That's because I'm thinking to myself, if you can't think far enough ahead to know that this is going to get you in trouble, I don't want you managing the largest province in the country's finances. And it's a shame because by all accounts, he was a really good finance minister and a really nice guy. But you just can't be that, you just can't do things like that. You cannot be that self-centered when you're telling other people not to be self-centered. So yeah, travel restrictions, new things, slow rollout of vaccine, all is coming up to put into effect these. Now, can you imagine you go to Seattle and you have to stop at a port in Canada? Does that mean you don't need to get tested to land in Seattle and to take a cruise out of Seattle? But if you want to go into the port of Vancouver, you need to get tested before you're allowed in. All these things are just it's so much for the cruise line and the travel industry to try and work through that you just don't know, because they change the rules daily. And that's the problem. They keep changing that, here's our goalpost. This is where we're trying to get to. And then the next day they move the goalpost to here and they put more blockers in the way. And then they move it to here and they put up another set of blockers. It's just getting to be ridiculous to try and keep up with all the restrictions. But I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to try and keep up with the restrictions for you. And that's the latest one. So imagine every time you leave the country now, whether it's cruising or traveling to Mexico or anywhere, you have to get a test in the country before coming back to your country of origin. What other restrictions are they going to start to throw at us? Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation. But don't forget to get tested before you come back.